like post it up, I would go ahead and put it in the notes section. Yeah.
So the dispatchers are able to see like that whole thing, including the notes. So, and we had kind of talked to Zach about that previously, about, you know, having that be like a searchable field. But yeah, the hope would be in the future that that could be like its own field in their system. But it's also tracked in ours.
So to your question, I reached out maybe over the weekend to Rural Utah Project Now Stewardship Utah to see if they had any more of those signs in their office or if they were going to do any upgrades, because in particular the resident that lives furthest out to the west at a mile marker, and she was inquiring about the Code Plus, and then the same thing for some of the people in that little tangle of residents by the wash. But I haven't heard anything back yet, but I wanted to follow up on it.
Not completely sure, but I think that they can find their own plus code by just going to Google Maps on your phone and asking for your plus code.
Well, that's good to know.
You just touch on it. But,
Yeah.
But so if they, like, if they're trying to dispatch it, they have the address and you can touch on it.
But you don't get the cute blue sign.
Right.
That was more
Confirms that you're at where you think you're going.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. This was very, very productive.
Yeah, Sam did a really great job. I am just incredibly humbled by all of our interns' tenacity, getting after all of these projects. I told Sam to say this, but I will, you know, he's very humble, but I told him to say, Erin had been working on the .gov transition for over a year and had not gotten it done. And so it was just like a huge relief to have him, because like all those words on that one page, I didn't know what any of those meant. So really, really lucky to have his skills and expertise and his patience, because there was a lot of stuff that, you know, he had to wait for all these people and go back and forth. But I really appreciate the opportunity to get to work with you. And again, just you had so much that you were touching kind of on the background that not necessarily all the people get to see. So I like that you were able to do the presentation and kind of show that. But a big takeaway for Sam specifically is he put a lot of systems in place that will make my job a lot easier in the future. So thank you, Sam.
So we can pay you less.
Yeah, exactly. Just take it out of my pay. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, I think having 3 interns is a great idea, and certainly moves some stuff along for us. So thank you. Okay, number 1, discuss Utah Geneva Kaya's request for an extension of 30 working days to move the modular and the property. So there's a little bit of an update on all of this. On August 2nd, the time expired for the 60 days that Utah Geneva Kaya had to move the modular and or move their personal property that was in the modular and on the ground. They did not move anything. So on Monday, Erin and I went over to the modular to change the lock on the door and to put new locks on the gates. And when I got there, I was a few minutes ahead of Erin because she was getting tools. When I got there, there were 2 trucks in the lot and the gate was open. So the bottom line was that Janet Sloman and Philip Rentz were in the modular packing things up. In the meantime, before we went in, we did talk with Chris McEnany about a couple of things on how to handle it. What the outcome was is that by 5:30, Janet Sloman had closed up the gates about the solar panel and 4 garden boxes along with the refrigerator inside the modular had not been moved. I went back at 5:30 to put the locks on, but they were not done. Today she advised me, well, I'll back up. Janet advised me that the UDB did not want the modular. It was too expensive, too difficult, and too time consuming to do. So they were just taking their personal property. The door to the food pantry was open, and they used the dollies in there to move things down the ramp to the trucks. They didn't, they asked for help, for us to find help, and I couldn't find anyone to help them lift all this stuff. And then I took over some tools that they needed. But the request now has been honed to, I'm going to read the text so that it's specific. Janet Sloman texted me today. I should add that Chris McEnany had sent an email to Christina Sloan telling her last week that the deadline was coming and they needed to move. We will pick up the 4 flower pots when we get a bigger truck, hopefully by Friday. We also hope to take the smart board and the solar fridge. And that was today at 12:48 p.m. from Janet. After having talked with Chris earlier on Monday, while they are trespassing, and what I'd like to recommend is that we extend it to Friday at 5:00 p.m. with a letter from Chris that we are changing the locks at 5:00 p.m. I think that's pretty clear. I think we've been generous with the time frame. And since they have very little to move, it should be doable with one pickup truck. And when I went by today, everything was obviously still on the ground. So that would be my recommendation. Questions, thoughts?
Seems adequate to me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. A little more
Just, it's just less stuff for us to have to go with.
Well, that's exactly it. Although I would have liked the flower boxes and the solar, but I understand why they like their property. So if everyone is okay with that, then we do need a motion and vote because we are extending the time for them to be in the building, but not to move the modular.
How many days are we extending it for again? 30 days?
Say that again, Britt.
Are we extending it for 30 more days? Is that correct?
No, just till Friday.
Till Friday. Okay, so we got it. Okay. Motion to extend Utah Denebakaya request until Friday.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Right. So Friday, August 8th.
Anyone opposed? I'll just shoot a note to Chris so that he can document that to Christina Sloan. He asked that we let him go ahead and do that. This next item is discuss and vote on the lease between the town of Bluff and San Juan County for the senior center and the Bluff Community Center building. The lease was reviewed by our attorney and he made some changes. Those changes went to everyone. The most important change is the one that is talking about if we go to the CCC, to the Cooperative Cultural Center, and we want to move them as well. I was just going to find that section. That's section 18 on page 5. And so I was hoping to get this to San Juan County on their commission meeting for today, but that didn't happen. So if we're okay with it, then we should have a vote. I'll sign it and then we'll send it off to Matt McDonald to get on the agenda for the 19th of August. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
No, thanks for addressing that section. Motion to approve lease between the town of Bluff and San Juan County for the senior center and the Bluff Community Center building.
Second. And I just have one comment. I think I would put CCC property, and also it's just commonly known in the county as the old school, old elementary.
Okay, with Luanne's notes.
So I'm going to see add one other thing. The address is 630, not 620, isn't it, Erin?
Address is 630 East Black Locust Avenue.
Okay. So with those two amendments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? I just need to make a note here. Erin, do you know if that lease was sent over as editable?
Yes, it is currently in an editable version.
And just a comment, I think that having it over there would be a great addition to that whole feel of that place. After Malia's description and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that it's a great addition. The piece that I think is really requires a lot of fine tuning is if there's a daycare center and use their kitchen and all of that. But we're a long way down the road from that, so I don't want anybody to think we're moving senior center tomorrow.
They may be able to provide that service to the bankers.
Who knows? But thanks. Number 3, review and discuss the draft of the standard operation manual for the roads department. I put this on, but then Erin and I talked, and I think, Erin, you had kind of a good plan on how to approach this rather than spending time doing it now.
Yeah, so we're discussing the manual that Thomas Hayden put together during his internship, and it is a rather, it's a lengthy document, but since Michael Havocan, who I think is on today, when he returns to Bluff, I'd like to sit down with him and ensure that we've captured all. I mean, he worked very closely with Thomas. Thomas, utilized Michael's experience, to put all this together, but I think it'd be helpful for Michael and I to sit shoulder to shoulder, go through this document in depth. Now, this document really does kind of set the standard for a lot of our other administrative procedures within the town. When Ann and I were talking, department manuals versus, policies and procedures, for example, I think it's important to note that, town council would really be very involved in approving policies and procedures that impact our internal and external operations. Something like a department manual, I think it's really important that council is well aware of the document, understands the purpose of it, and plays a role in ensuring that we are detailing and documenting the things that ensure the continuation of the organization. But from like a detailed perspective, things like the department manual here, the addressing manual that Sam is putting together and is almost complete with, and a lot of those other documents, I think it's important that you guys know where they are. They're living, breathing documents, so changes can be made, but it really kind of serves the purpose of the department who's going to be utilizing it. And so I think if you all can kind of take a look at what was compiled, if you have any other ideas as to like sections that would be helpful to, have addressed, I think that's great. But when we get down into like the nitty gritty details of it, I really am going to empower our departments to make those changes and make those edits moving forward. But this does speak to, the strategic plan, everything that, the goals that you all wanted to put in place to, have this really effective organizational management system that each department is able to rely on. And so for this being, kind of the standard that we're going to set against a lot of the other departments, if you can take a look, see if there are elements or areas you think would be important to incorporate, that would be great. And then the administrative RM can continue to make those edits and, create a full working document. Any questions or concerns right now or thoughts?
Do you want to tell people where this would sit if they're looking to look at it?
Yeah, so this, right now it is in your agenda packet. I do have, so in our new shared system, shared files, I do have like departmental breakdown of, I've got roads, I've got planning, all the departments, all the boards, all the committees. And so what I will probably do is once we get a more like finalized version that will live in each kind of department's area, and those would all be, accessible. Council members would be able to view, but not necessarily change. But for right now, this is sitting in just the agenda packet for today. And then once you guys are more familiar with our shared filing system, I can share out all of those departmental folders where you can go in and find each department's respective documents.
At the end of Thomas Hayden's internship, we sat down and there were some things that he wasn't aware of and had wished the whole department had met with him earlier on in the project rather than waiting for the end. So maybe when you're reviewing this, maybe it should be the whole roads department and whoever, right now we're just three of us. But by whenever it is that we do our committee work, it may not happen to have anybody else on, but I think the more ears and eyes you have on things, the better.
Does the road department have another scheduled meeting right now?
You'd have to ask Michael.
Okay.
Michael will be back on, I think it's the 18th. And he and I talked about setting something up virtual for Michael and Luanne, and I would jump on virtually. But because the travel plans have been kind of floating, I figured there was no point in trying to set a meeting until Michael was physically back in town.
Yeah, so the short answer is no, we don't have anything, so you could coordinate us.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That sounds great.
All right, then review and discuss the work on diamond maps for correct addresses within the town boundaries. Sam touched on that. Is there anything that we need to be doing to move forward on that, Erin? Or?
Well, so I wanted to discuss that because I was a little confused myself because I think, so we maintain the addresses in the state, our GIS system. And then we have like a list of them in an Excel document that we can easily reference. Since we have a full-fledged mapping system provided by the state, it feels duplicative to have that also in like our diamond map system. It is certainly possible to do. I do think it's a lot of extra work. In the future, my hopes would be that the state updates like their maps and addresses with like Google, because that's what Diamond Maps pulls their base layers from, would be Google. So when you go into Diamond Maps right now, it has like street numbers or house numbers for what Google shows. So now that we have so many more addresses at the state level, in theory, that can all cycle back through each of these separate systems. If the council would like to direct that we put addresses into Diamond Maps, we can do that. In terms of ensuring that all addresses are correct within town boundaries in the state system, yes. As Sam indicated, there are a couple addresses that, no contact information for, we don't, we still have a little bit of digging to do to confirm. And then there are about 15 addresses, 15, 20? About 20 addresses that Sam has identified as incorrect. So when I say an incorrect address, the house number associated with the physical address is not in line with our grid system. So either it's off by a street or the number is not in sequence for what it would need to be for the road. So for those individuals, I will need to reach out directly to them to talk to them about the issue, explain why it's so important for them to be in the correct sequence, and then initiate the process of getting a new address. What Sam has done is for those incorrect addresses, maybe even have some like recommended addresses of, what the house number should be. So the process is going to be really straightforward, but my goal is to reach out to each individual. I'll do like a quadrant by quadrant basis. So if you think of our town setup, north, south, east, west, kind of do by section to get everyone corrected. Even though they might have an incorrect address, they are in the system though. So like we have some number, they are a dot in the system. It's just incorrect compared to where their neighbors are. So I do understand that there are a lot of legal documents where your physical address is placed. So it is, it can be a very paperwork intensive process for the homeowner or business owner. So, I will work with everyone individually, but that is kind of the next step in that project, is reaching out to those 20 or so incorrect addresses that we know of, and then trying to identify. I think we only have just a handful of quote missing addresses where either we haven't been able to get a hold of the person or there's nothing posted and we don't know who they are. And so we'll have to dig a little bit further into like the county records to identify who owns the parcel in the building.
Questions, thoughts?
My thought is, now with Google Maps and all the rest, it's not as critical to be able to just quick find an address or something. But I'm wondering about the use for it for like the water department in the future, like having it on our maps to say this is where this gets used, or is that a different setup? I'm thinking it could be an internship project for next summer to get that on our records, to where you could pull it up and say, these are the houses, these are the addresses.
I think I can probably, so I would want to have the one data set complete first, but I think it is possible, given the mapping GIS gurus at the state level, that we could potentially export data from their system, that hopefully we could work with Diamond Maps to like overlay, so it wouldn't be a manual setup. It would be my recommendation to not do it manually. I don't think it's a good use of anyone's time, because like the data is very accurate at the state level. But if we were able to like transpose it and create a copy that can go on top, that would be great. I am definitely just making things up though, because this would not be something that I would know how to do, but I could ask the people if it would be possible.
I was just going to say, it would seem to me like this is a piece that would best be handled when we sit down and do a face-to-face with Bluff Waterworks about what a timeline is for moving in. And I personally think mixing entities information when they're not a part of your organization at that point can get dicey, but that's just my feeling. I think it's something for really another thing to be discussing with Bluff Waterworks about what does the timeline look for moving and what do we need to do to get ready for it.
But if we have a map that shows our addresses, then when that merges, you can see if it lines up with their addresses for just like who they're serving or whatever. The other thought I have was like planning and zoning. When somebody comes with an LUC, like what's your address? Does it match up with our records?
We do have, for new developments, they do need to fill out the address application first.
Still signed in.
Yeah,
So
we
we
physically,
physically be a new building. It could be something that's existing.
Yeah. So one other check that we do, so any of the like quote new addresses or changed addresses, I feed directly up to the county surveyor's office. So hopefully all of that is getting tied together, and then it's their data that gets pulled to like the utility companies. So I don't know about Bluff Waterworks, but for our Rocky Mountain Power, that's how that all ties in. So we have like this kind of complicated communication network. But the goal would be that all of those systems look exactly the same. Or they have the same data. Hopefully.
That would be nice.
It would be good.
We've just barely gotten addresses, so.
Yeah.
Anything else? And number 5, review and discuss the work on the Town of Bluff website.
Yeah. So if folks have checked out the website recently, they should see that it is, if they're trying to go to .org, it does automatically redirect to .gov. So folks should definitely mark that our new domain, www.townofbluffutah.gov, and additionally updated contact information for everyone. There is still work to be done on the website. We have significantly more web pages than we had previously. And so because of that, there's a lot of tie-in, new menus, but the goal is that even with all of those additional pages, that things are much easier to find, and then they're not buried in pages. So, folks can go check it out. What I'm asking for at this, well, let me tell you my game plan, and then I will make my humble request. So, at this time, the building department does need some I don't want to say major work, but there are definitely resources from the building department, from what Josie created, that need to go on the website to be usable. At this time, folks can reach out. There is contact information. They can reach out directly to the building department if they have questions, but now it needs to be updated. 2, all of the forms that Sam put together, coupled with the online bill pay system that we're implementing, all of that needs to be put in. So we're working with Express Bill Pay. But all of that needs to be linked into the respective areas. The good news is this will kind of do away with the PDF forms that we've been utilizing previously, and everything will just kind of be automated, which means that we'll be able to use it, administration can use it more easily, but all of that has to be reworked in. Then I think there's some opportunity for like more pictures and more infographics and things like that. That's kind of like third priority though, after those first 2. So with that, I am encouraging council and staff to take a look at the website. If you see errors or mistakes, I want you to let me know about those so I can get them fixed. For things that are like, oh, it would be really great to have X, Y, and Z, or how about we do this? I ask that you please move that down on my priority list. I am happy to take suggestions, but it will probably go more towards the end of the list. So Malia and I can continue to make website edits, but there are definitely some items that need to go on there sooner rather than later. So please let me know your ideas, but at this time, please let me know of errors, holes that you're seeing, and I can kind of help prioritize those. And then I will ask the same of like planning and zoning, the building department, our other boards and committees that we're looking for errors, or we're looking for like major gaping holes. Anything past that, put together the wish list, and I can continue working on it. I will let you know that WordPress is a very finicky website, and website updates take a while. So like I was working on the website today, spent about an hour and a half, and got like a page and a half done. So I need your patience, but that's kind of my request right now. So there are some holes, we're getting there. One thing to note as well, and maybe this could go under other, but I am encouraging us to move to Zoom for this coming meeting on August 12th, if possible. Planning and zoning is moving to Zoom for their meeting this week, so they'll do a little test run for us. But all of those new links and everything will be there. I've got a little info page that Linda can send out with the agenda, but I did want to run that by you, that you would be okay moving meetings over to Zoom, because there's a lot of great functionality that we'll be able to utilize to make some other things a little bit more straightforward. So is everyone comfortable with that? Are there questions and concerns?
Comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. Too subjective. I had asked Erin to hold off from doing it today. which I really appreciate that she did hold off. Everyone knows technology is not my thing, and I felt like to start in a meeting where people haven't had a time to like work through a work session. A work session's a lot less problematic if we get bumped out or something goes kafooey. The work session is a lot more flexible and less problematic. So I appreciate Erin, and I will definitely be cheerful going into Zoom.
We'll get you on board. It'll be great.
So when I send out a blast, I try to be clear who it came from. If it came from you, it came from the mayor or someone else. And I guess I'm expecting some confusion from the public. So I need to direct them to you because
Totally okay.
so, because I won't be as helpful as you would be. So just so that you know.
Perfect. Nope, I'm great with that. And I'll also put for this particular one, like a little tutorial. So I updated the website to have like, hopefully very clear, like click here to join a town council meeting, click here to join a planning and zoning meeting. But I'll put, a link, having trouble to log in, go through these steps to hopefully make it as easy as possible. But yeah, folks can always reach out to me if they have questions or concerns. The easiest way to join a Zoom call is to join from your browser. So I will send that out, or I will forward that to Linda to forward out to folks. So they don't have to download the whole application. They can still join from the web browser. It's really important. It's just much easier to do it that way. So I will make sure that gets out.
Great. Perfect. So everybody listening, don't look for Google anymore. Look for Zoom, right?
Correct.
And it's on our website.
It'll be on the website. Yeah. So right now, planning and zoning is moved over. So all those links are now directing to Zoom. And the town council one is still correct for today. And then I'll change it over effective later this week.
Thank you. All right, number 6, update on dark sky literature and finalization of public service brochures. Erin?
Yeah. So Josie had put together some really fantastic brochures based on council feedback. She has put together 2, one for kind of residents and one for businesses. I don't know if council was able to take a look at those. They were in the agenda packet. It would definitely be beneficial to get these printed. I haven't gotten any quotes for printing or anything yet. I know one of our goals was, if we needed to have like a couple on hand, that would be great. But of course, if we could get them professionally printed, that might be nice as well. There is money in the budget for dark sky. Education is not the right word, but information about our ordinance. So if folks have comments today, I'd be happy to take feedback on what was in the agenda packet, or I don't know if you want to bump it to the work session. I feel like these have been looked over quite a few times. So if we wanted to just move forward and have us get some printed, I'm happy to do that. I definitely just whatever the council wants in terms of getting these printed and distributed is fine by me.
And how are you going to distribute them?
So I think we'll have so there'll be the 6 panel brochures. For residents, I will put this stuff up on the website so it's easily find residents and businesses. And then, can have some printed and available here. I don't know if you all would want to do like another mailer. These might be like a little, I don't know. So, at your discretion.
Have you gotten any quotes yet?
No quotes.
You want to get some quotes and then we just bring it back?
Yep.
And see what that is. Maybe it'd be nice to kind of bite the bullet right in the beginning and get a nice amount printed.
Okay.
And maybe if the business owners are meeting, someone from the business owners can make those, make them available like you have other times. Okay, anything else on that? So the next item is the renewal of the wellness survey. Dr. Courtney Flint, if you remember, she runs this survey, and she reached out, as did one of her colleagues, asking if we wanted to participate. This year they would send the survey out again. They send the survey for free. If we want to do more, there is a cost. I feel like since we've done it a couple of years, that a free survey would be okay. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know that we need to incur cost. We do get the data, and we get that for free. So or another option is we just say, no, we don't want to participate this year. I mean, obviously, that's what she's asking. Do we want to participate, and do we want the free or the cost?
I'd say the free version. I mean, unless we were looking for, if we were trying to collect some kind of specific data for something else that was presented in the wellness survey, then I mean, maybe in the future we can. But I think if we don't have any specific need for anything right now, then.
That's kind of where I was leaning toward, because I can see where we might want to have specific data with a CIB or a CDBG grant, but right now we're not focused on those. So if everyone's okay, I'll just go ahead and say, send out the survey and let's do the annual, and those people who are over surveyed don't need to do it.
Yep. Awesome.
Number 8, update on San Juan County Commission meeting on August 1st, 2025. The only thing that affected Bluff directly was the approval of our election contract with San Juan County. And I imagine we'll be getting a signed copy back from the commission in the next few days. Everything else, a lot of it, there were 40 items, I think, on the agenda, and most of it was approval of various contracts that are countywide but not impacting us directly. The next is discussion and a vote on stipulation regarding public road status of 6 West in Bluff, Utah. When the residents, the owners of property down on 6 West filed their quiet title action, it was our attorney's suggestion that we ask the owners to stipulate that this affects the alleys that are outlined in the quiet title and not 6 West, that 6 West is a Class 2 town road. And so he drafted this up. Chris McEnany has spoken with Walter Bird at least on 2 occasions. And I haven't heard any updates that would say, and I've talked to Chris a couple times, that this was off the table. So he asked if I would bring it, see if people would want to approve it, and then he'll send it on to Walter Bird. So we'll need a vote.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is it's too bad they don't want to keep those public lands public. It's just unfortunate. It wasn't part of the quiet title process to take 6th Alley, so I don't know that it's worth our legal work, but it looks like it's pretty much prepared and money spent already. So and there's no survey attached to ours on our stipulation, and it says a survey is attached, but it was not.
I think the survey was attached to the quiet title, if I'm correct.
But that would have shown just the fourth, what I call fourth south alley. Fourth south alley is what they're trying to take out. And the county did it, we said 20 years ago, 2001, so a little over 20 years ago. Took it out of county property and took it out of public lands and put it in.
So are you talking about this survey?
Well, just said survey was attached as appendix A and it wasn't. Yeah. So that, I mean, that's what would need to be attached, and it was on earlier, or I sent it.
I
But
thought
anyway,
this was
this wasn't attached to the thing that we want to send to them.
the whole thing should have gone to everybody, but because this came in mine and that, but if everyone's okay, accepting that this is the survey that Chris has attached.
And I, like we've always said, we like to do what our attorney suggests.
And I think, apologies on my part, I think I only attached the Word document, not the survey. So I will put that in our agenda packet really fast so folks can take a look. So that is, and then I'll rename this because our agenda numbers got a little messed up, but I will put this here.
Under the same stipulation.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a PDF, and then they're both gonna be, they'll start with 9.0. So you can pull those up in the agenda packet. Now, you might just need to refresh your file. But yes, it does look like Chris just copied what the property owners had included.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, with that added in, like I say, I don't think it has anything to do with it, but I'm not the lawyer, so I'm happy to add it if they accept it on meeting.
All right, so we need a vote, correct?
Right.
All right. Motion to adopt stipulation regarding public road status of 6 West Bluff, Utah.
Second.
Any further discussion?
What was your motion, Britt?
Motion to adopt the stipulation regarding public land road status of 6 West Bluff, Utah. I'll add as presented.
Okay, but what we're trying to do is add it to their request to not compete against the vacated alley on 4th South.
Are we talking about the stipulation of the 6th?
Stipulation of the 4th South saying that they will not try to take our 6th West alley.
So I think what Britt is moving is to accept the stipulation as drafted by Chris McEnany.
There you
Yeah,
go.
the stipulation, like the thing the stipulation.
Yeah,
That's how it's
okay.
written in my packet.
Yep.
Then all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
Thanks for adding that in, Erin.
Sorry, I missed it.
No, I just
It's not a
thought it was angling. So.
No.
Going to give Linda, I've signed a stipulation on 6 West. I've signed the lease agreement with the idea that Erin are you able to edit that paragraph on the lease? I'll give it to Linda so she can do the seal and everything and give it back to you, Erin. Number 10, discussion of water delivery in Bluff and procedures to follow when the water system is down, and discuss possible dates for a joint meeting with Bluff Water Works. Feels like that was 2 months ago. So as everyone knows, there was a blip in the water delivery. And I think we've got a fair number of calls again in the town. And so I know that there's been some work done on what the procedure is for how this is handled. So Jen, can you just kind of update the community as to what the procedures would be, and then?
Well, as for calls to the town, I don't know how to avoid doing that, because as soon as Melanie was able to get to the office, she checked the Bluff Water Works phone line, and there were 2 calls. That's it. So, you know, I mean, I fielded several calls myself as well, which I'm fine with doing. We are trying to figure out a way that we could possibly transfer emergency numbers to someone else without having a full staffed office person at the office, which, you know, I mean, in a typical month, we might get 5 calls, and 4 of those 5 are telephone or spam calls. So, you know, I mean, with the limited budget that the waterworks does run, it's basically impossible to staff a full-time office person to answer spam calls. So we're trying to figure out some way to do that. But with the, you know, we have developed an emergency tree, and while none of us were happy that this happened again because we thought we had it fixed last time, it was a good test for our tree, and it worked pretty well. I would say, you know, we were able to isolate and get things back up moving. I'd say relatively quickly. We notified via the town email list, you know, that we were aware of the system. The tricky thing is that, you know, we had varying degrees of pressure loss this time, which was interesting. Some people had low pressure, some people didn't have any problems at all. So that was interesting. Anyways, the SCADO people were down yesterday and have put 2 or 3 new alarms on the tanks, and also replaced some kind of float bottle type of thing. I didn't go to the tanks with them to know exactly what they did, but yeah, hopefully this is what catches it. Last time we just thought it was a computer glitch, and obviously that wasn't necessarily the case.
I think it's a good time to, you know, remind the public when we're talking about even calling the town is that Bluff Waterworks meets the second Wednesday of every month. And for the number of calls that we have fielded as a town and individuals in the last month and a half or whatever it was with the 2 blips, people should be going and asking their own questions, because it's best to ask the operators of the system. By the time I'm done with listening to the technical stuff, it goes through my brain. That's not something I'm adequately explaining to folks. So when we get the calls saying what happened, best ask to be WW. So at 7 o'clock, second Wednesday of every month, in the library.
Yep.
So I'd just like to say thank you for being in town that day. We got a few calls too, and, you know, and then I tried to reach somebody, but I figured you already.
No, when you were calling, I was running between.
That's what I figured.
Between tanks and the treatment plant. So,
yeah. And so it's, I think it's nice for people to know that it was just a computer thing. There wasn't a problem with our water.
No, there was not.
Yeah, recovered really quickly. I was wondering how it recovered so quickly. But anyway,
I think that we were able to catch it when pressure started dropping. That, you know, I mean, since we had just had the problem before, it's like, no, okay,
right to it.
and we, yeah. So
But
okay,
were
we know
you
what to do now.
were you the only one in town that kind of knew? Okay.
No, I was.
Oh, I was here too.
Amr was here, Steve was here, I was here, Brent was here. Ben was on the phone with us.
He was my next one.
Yeah, no, he was on the phone with us monitoring, you know, digitally what was happening.
Yeah,
So,
and then Erin knew that you knew, and so then I stopped.
Yeah.
Calling. Yeah, so I thought it went as well as could be expected. I think you all responded really quickly, and we didn't lose pressure, and we didn't have to shut anything down. And
yeah.
And the next Bluff Waterworks meeting is
Next
Wednesday, which is the 16th, 15th.
Yeah. 13th.
Okay, so the Wednesday the 13th, I am not able to attend this one. And so I'm going to ask that someone else on the council, Linda, goes when she's in town, but if we could get at least a second body, although Jen is there, I want to remind everybody that Jen is actually there as the reporter, not acting in capacity as the council. So if somebody just will go, I'm just going to not bother to remind anyone.
Jackie has offered to, is planning to go also.
Jackie Lauren.
So
And if I'm here, I should be able to go.
That would be great. Which is nice because you understand water systems. So
Well, I understand enough to know that I don't understand it.
you're not as lost as I am. So
so this was another computer problem because the group that I talked to a couple of days later said it was a big leak.
It's not a leak.
Okay.
I don't know who told you that. It was not a leak. It was another, the computer wasn't calling for water, issue. And so there's obviously, they feel like they run significant testing on it yesterday and installed new alarms and put some kind of new, I think, float apparatus in it, but
And I must say that's quick response too, to come down and fix
Yeah,
parts.
yeah, I was surprised we were able to
Yeah,
get
it worked again.
Brown's down here so fast.
Yeah, so that rumor was also floating around that I heard was a leak thing, and that's where it's nice to get an email out to say, hey, it was a computer problem, and either, ideally, I think it would come from Bluff Waterworks.
Yep, we're,
You know, but
it's hard to decide how much detail to go in to these things.
Right, it doesn't need to be much, just, hey, thanks for your patience, we had a computer glitch. And
So I'm gonna
notice a problem.
I'm gonna try to keep us moving because it is 5:16. And we still have quite a bit to cover. Number 11, discussion of Bluff Airport need for standard operation manual. Erin, have you been able to, more time-wise, I know you've been just really taking it on. So.
I'll be honest, I didn't know what this was. However, my assumption is that since we're working on all these other wonderful manuals, we should probably get one for the airport too. So I will reach out to the airport manager. I see him on a regular basis, but usually about things that are not airport related. So I will reach out to him and we will touch base, similar to what we did for the roads manual with kind of like the head of the department, Michael, directing what goes in there. I would ask that the wonderful Jim Hook help direct as to what he thinks is pertinent to that, since I definitely rely on him for all things airport. I know that we've got some stuff up on the website about the airport for visitors, but yeah, I can definitely do that, and it will probably mirror what we've started putting together for the other areas.
Yeah, and Sam was working on that page for the website, and it's not done yet either, but it's.
Like we chatted about today. So.
I put it on there more as a reminder since I knew Sam was meeting and on the airport, and I didn't know if he was meeting with Jim Cook and Luanne Hook or if it was just where we were, but I know that that's something we've talked about, is trying to get all that information in one place.
Yeah, he met with myself and I met with Jim, and then he met when we were both there. So he got input from.
More for the website though, not Sam.
the
Sam did not talk to
No,
anything about
no.
that. So.
Manual, just website info.
Well, I like number 12, discuss and vote on whether to cancel or change the Bluff Town Council regular meeting day of September 2nd, 2025. It's right after Labor Day. It would mean the reality is the next meeting would be the 9th would be the 9th. And that's a work session. So we probably would have a couple items stuck on at the end of the meeting if we needed to approve things or something that couldn't wait. But I'm in favor of canceling and just trying to make it up during the month. Lots.
I would agree. Sounds good.
Doesn't make any
Yes.
difference. Get to take Labor Day off, so.
Yeah, but I don't think we have anything pressing that we need to worry about getting on our team.
Yeah, I think, Britt, you were in favor of it.
Yep. Makes sense.
Then I would just say we should do a quick vote.
I do have to comment that we kind of criticized Planning and Zoning for doing the same thing, so I think we should be careful with that.
I agree. Do you want to do a vote? Or do we want to just go ahead and meet?
Motion to cancel Bluff Town Council regular meeting, the day of September 2nd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, then discuss and vote on moving to stage 2 fire restrictions. As I will hope everyone's aware, we were in stage 1 and the state forester moved unincorporated areas and public lands into stage 2. And I reached out to Chief Lott to ask him what his opinion was. He basically was, yes, move to stage 2 sooner rather than later. I had considered calling an emergency meeting after I emailed with him, but it just got to be just too close. So I thought waiting until today would be sufficient, that most people should be aware that stage 2 has been implemented. However, there were 2 different residents who chose to have bonfires the night that I decided not to call an emergency meeting. So to me, I'm seeing that people are either not aware or not paying attention, and I think we should consider approving stage 2 and getting it posted and blasted out.
And just to clarify, it does match up with what the state is doing.
It's identical. It's word for word. I filtered the entire thing.
Motion to move to stage 2 fire restrictions.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
So anybody listening, if you go to our website, it'll be on there, or you can go online and just put Utah stage 2 fire restrictions and it will give you the list. Basically, you cannot have charcoal, you can't have campfires, you can still do propane, you can still do a lot of things.
I'm passing this off to Linda as well. I just signed it. And Linda, if you can do a blast. Okay, that would be great. Discuss the community impact board application process and deadline for February 2026 funding opportunity. This is on here more as a reminder to different committees who might be looking at funding. I believe that every 4 months, roughly 3 times a year, the Community Impact Board reviews applications and then kind of scores them and has presentations. And the next one would be, I thought I brought that information, but I didn't. It would be October, I think, is when it's due. And then the funding is in February 2026. And I was thinking that I'd heard a number of people in the public and Luanne and Michael talking about the CIB for possibilities on roads and then possibilities on the Cooperative Cultural Center. So if you go to the CIB, Community Impact Board site. It's there, but I also have the information. So any questions? Anybody in particular looking for funding from CID?
Well, I think that both of those things that you just mentioned, yes, I would like to see go on a CIB request.
And I have always understood through the years that you kind of have a list already established and you sort of pull one up to say, this is the one off of our list. So I hope both of those are on our like revolving list.
There's what's called a CASI list. And right offhand, I don't recall, but I believe they are. And if they're not, we can get them on.
Because I think that's right. And then they're the ones that would also be a good funder for a few years from now to do the airport repaving. That's the sort of thing they're interested in.
So it's probably a good idea for someone to review the CASI list and then review the schedules. Then number 15, we have a work session next Tuesday, and there are some draft ordinances that are in rough form, but ones that I'd like people to be able to go over and give suggestions or areas that you do or don't want to see more in-depth work on, so that we can package a couple of things up to over to Chris McInerney to work on. One in particular that I think needs to be done is the ordinance on dogs, because this year we've had a fair number of dog bites. There's been a fair number of loose dog complaints without an owner attached. And quite honestly, it would be nice to get a policy, an ordinance in place, and work with setting up something with enforcement and the deputies about how we address these. So I'm wondering if the council would be amenable to starting this work session at 3 next week, rather than running over in order to try to do this. And if everybody would be okay with that, we'd just change the time to start at 3 with the goal of keep still holding it for an hour and a half, but we'd have some flexibility.
I would just suggest highlighting it on the mail out or on the agenda. This has changed.
We usually take,
Yeah, I think just like fold it and make it bigger or something, just so that.
so is Britt, are you okay with that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yep, sounds great. Thank you.
That would be great. So we'll start at 3 p.m. rather than 4. Okay, number 16, presentation of bids for cemetery mapping services, RFP, and a vote to award the contract. Erin.
So we had this RFP go out for the month of July. I'm happy to report that we had 2 bidders. So I'm going to call bid packet A, or I'm going to call the bid from Century Mapping bid packet A, and the bid from SWCA Environmental Consultants bid packet B. I did go over both of these and compared them to our RFP. In the RFP, we did, similar to all of our other RFPs, we have evaluation criteria on which to score the submissions. I do want to call out, just the highest highest thing that we evaluate is the cost. So Century Mapping submitted a proposal for $7,200. SWCA Environmental Consultants, their bid was for $62,963.83. So a pretty significant price discrepancy in these two proposals. A couple other items that I looked at, but would love to hear feedback from the council as well. Both provided quality and functional solutions to what we're looking for regarding the work to be performed. I believe both could meet the scope of work that we've outlined. Both would be able to complete the project this fall with deadlines of December 1st. And so it seemed as though both would be able to meet that timeline. Regarding experience and qualifications, SWCA did provide a very robust packet of information, including referrals and real detail as to who exactly would be working on the project. They've got a pretty robust firm, and so therefore their packet did reflect that. Century Mapping did provide a more straightforward approach in their bid. However, they detailed out how they would do it. They seem to have experience actually specifically in cemetery mapping that they referenced. And so really the big thing is the cost. And so similar to what Malia went through with one of our other RFPs recently, I'll kind of run down the scores that I gave and then pause and ask if you guys have any questions. So for the fee schedule, I gave full points to Century Mapping for the total overall cost. I gave them half of the allotted points for the itemized schedule. While they did detail out, what was going to be provided, and it was all there, the itemized schedule was not as robust. So I gave them half points. For SWCA Environmental Consultants, I gave them 5 out of 20 allocated points for the cost proposal, since it was so significantly higher than the other proposal. I also gave them 5 points for the itemized schedule. They did provide a very detailed itemized schedule, but again, significant cost discrepancy. Qualifications and experience, I gave Century Mapping a 10. I gave SWCA a 15. 15 would be the full points. For references and past performance, Century Mapping a 0, 10 to SWCA based on what they provided in their packets. 25 points for both entities for timeline and approach, since they were on par, and same 10 points full amount for quality and functionality of proposed solutions. So all of that added up to 75 points for Century Mapping and 70 points for SWCA. Century beating out the SWCA just due to the price discrepancy. And again, with 40% of the overall evaluation criteria being based on cost, that's kind of how I graded them. You all did all receive a copy of the request for proposals. Any questions, concerns, follow-up, or thoughts on these proposals?
I've got a question, Erin.
Mm-hmm.
So remind me of process here. Can we ask for further information from either of these groups?
Yes, we can always ask for, we can always ask for further information. It is in the RFP that we're able to reach out. And I would say, especially for this one, a couple things to keep in mind. The first is that, the timeline on this, we had a proposed deadline of like December 1st. The sooner we can get started, the better, which is always great. And knowing that we do have a grant to spend, it would be good to start on it. However, both firms have been very responsive, and so I'm sure if there were questions, we could get a pretty quick response if needed.
Well, I just wonder about with the disparity in cost, because it's pretty vast. Their scope looks the same. I mean, SWCA definitely uses more words to describe it, but it seems like the same as far as I can tell. But with the vast difference in the number, the cost, I'd definitely like to hear from Century, like past work and referrals. if they could provide who would do the work, that'd be great. But definitely what they've done in the past.
So Century was the group that I reached out to get basic information about cemetery digitalization and mapping. That is all they do. They only do cemeteries, and they've done them in all 48 lower states. And that is all they do. And I'm sure that if Erin reached out to them, they could provide a boatload of referrals because they only do cemetery mapping. Whereas my understanding of that other firms, they're broader. They do basic engineering scope.
Yeah, they do.
That certainly is possible if Erin's willing to do that. I don't want to be the one reaching out. I think it should be Erin, somebody neutral. So.
I mean, I feel like I'm comfortable in it, but I feel like due diligence wise, just that vast of a difference in number is just without kicking at least a rock over. I don't feel great about it, but I would vote on it because the price is so much better, but too good to be true, right?
Well, they were really, when I spoke to the person on the phone, really had a lot of information, but certainly if Erin wants to reach out to answer Lou's question, they're not local, they're based in one particular place, but they do work all over the country. And sure, we can get a referral, some referrals and see.
Yeah, and if I'm the only one that's got any desire on it, we can move forward with a vote. It just 75 to 62,000. It's just a big jump. So
I would guess one of the differences is that that Century is more geared toward doing their work from the electronic view, whereas the one in Albuquerque would be driving time, per diems, and that kind of thing. I think that's probably one difference. But
They both say they use GPR though, and I don't know that you can do GPR from. I think you kind of have to be on site to do GPR.
Century does say that they provide on-site scale GPS rendering maps, digital drafting. So I had the same question, and I thought the same thing, that maybe, virtual versus in person. So no, I can definitely reach out and talk about, get some referrals and better understand, who exactly would they be sending out to do this. Yeah, I think it is a pretty large discrepancy that it'd be helpful to understand exactly what we're looking at.
Maybe get referrals from really small towns too.
right,
They may be in the area or something already and able to do that. I also wondered if there was any, if it would help our price of things, if maybe the Warm Rock people wanted to also use the same services while they were coming to town. But
they certainly have the ability to get the information. I've had several conversations with Warm Rock Foundation about what they have and haven't done. So, and they do know what we're doing. So. All right, number 17. Reminder and update on November 2025 election. The last day to file as a write-in candidate is Friday, August 29th, 2025, 5:00 p.m. That's a hard stop. Whoever's in the office cannot take your declaration if it's not here by 5:00. And it's the same process, right, Erin, as doing the regular declaration.
Let me put a quick little stipulation out there. So during declaration week, we're legally obligated by the state of Utah to be in office from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to take your declaration of candidacy. We adhere to that. We take it very seriously. For write-in candidates, it's a very wide open period, and the town of Bluff is a tiny town with limited staff, with limited hours. If you are intending to declare as a write-in candidate, I would seriously advise that you reach out to us to schedule time to do your declaration. I want to be here to help you. It is the same process in terms of filling out all the documents, verifying your voter registration, all the good stuff that we do for all of the regular folks who declared the week of early June. But I'll be honest, I'm not in office 8 till 5. So I would really recommend that you make an appointment to see me if you want to do that declaration. And I would do it far before 4 o'clock on the 29th. Okay, that's all. That's my PSA.
All right. Then community workshops on August 22nd and August 23rd, 2025 on radiological risks and nuclear energy. So these are put on, I believe, we got the information from San Juan County Economic Development. One is a closed meeting, and that is the one on the 22nd. Feedback and insights would be shared with the U.S. Department of Energy. And the one on the 23rd is for the public, and that is from 8:30 to 1:30. And I believe that one is in Blanding Arts and Event Center. I have a concern about the August 22nd one being a closed meeting because the council cannot attend a closed meeting with a quorum. And I did notify San Juan County that I would be reminding everyone of that. If you intend to go, you might want to find out who else is going because it is being put out as a meeting, as a closed meeting. And I don't know how we would get around 3 or more of us going there without publicizing and allowing the public to be present. So, but it would be worthwhile getting the information. I am not able to attend either one. Then any questions or move to the next? Right, a discussion and vote for town sponsorship of $250 for the Utah Bicycle Summit on August 14th, 2025. And that's yours, Lou.
Yeah, so Bike Utah is the one, they're the group that wrote our active transportation plan for prioritizing pedestrians and bicycle use through town. And they are having a summit, a Utah Bicycle Summit on August 14th. And one of the options is to be a sponsor. So you can be a business or a big corporate sponsor or whatever, but for $250, they'll list our information on all the materials that go out to the conference participants. So I would like to show our support back to bicycle people across the state by putting the town of Bluff as a sponsor. And it says August 14th will be the biggest day for biking, walking, and active transportation in Utah. Whether you're a student, a city planner, an elected official, or just someone who wants safer streets for your kids, you belong at the Utah Bicycle Summit. So it is, if you do search it and you want to go, it's Bike Utah. It will be at the Utah Valley campus, the college campus. But anyway, I thought it would be a great way to show our support for the trails in the area and the work that they're doing with UDOT.
So I looked at the levels of support, and for $250, you would get a table and your logo would be printed, and there was something else, but are you going?
No, I can't go. I don't know if anybody else, I'd like to go, but I can't go. But your name gets listed. It may just be a list at the end, but it shows our support for the region.
We recently also got a request from Healthy Utah to support something. I think theirs was 500. And a request from a Dark Skies entity to support something. And I don't remember the amount they asked, but it's usually the support we do are things like the Bloom Festival, Arts Festival.
I kind of agree with Lou. I think that they've given us a lot of help in proceeding with this, what is turning into a very large project. And it's nice to have, you know, their personal interaction. They've been down several times and done a lot of things. I don't think 250 is a lot of money. They have been pretty active here in the community, I think. So I don't have a problem with it.
I'll make a motion. Oh, go ahead, Britt.
Sorry, I'm just saying I don't think I have a problem with it either, which would have been revealed after your motion. So sorry.
All right, well, if you'd like to make a motion, welcome to.
Taxpayer money to sponsor something.
The active transportation group does not spend much of anything, but we apparently don't have a budget. So, but that could come out of the active transportation funds and stuff, but it's just $250 supporting the efforts.
Could also a person that was interested privately send that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if you have private interest or if there's another business in town or something, totally, it just shows that much more support from Bluff, but coming from the town of Bluff, that they specifically worked with us. They wrote us a $40,000 plan. They put on what would have cost us $40,000 to get it written, and they're the ones that are big supporters of the 1,000-mile trail effort through the state. Where the Lieutenant Governor's office appoints them to help communities like ours. They did Manila before us, and then did we are working on right now. But their big push to get all this safe and comfortable travel across the state. So all those people will be there.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I mean, is there anything written in our policy that would keep us from sponsoring something?
Not that I know of, and I'm assuming if Erin had an objection because we didn't have it in the budget, she'd tell us, so.
No, I don't believe we have any policies prohibiting sponsorships.
Then all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Number 20.
One clarification for doing this, I will find out who we send it to and send a check and get back to Erin. Is that the proper procedure? I'll let you know. Thank you.
Probably need to hustle on that.
Exactly, that's what.
Yeah, Erin's day off is tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Request from Leandra Chi to rent community center from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Saturday, August 9th, 2025, and vote to approve the exception to the 10 p.m. closure policy. And for the benefit of the fact that two of the council members were not on the council, I don't believe we instituted timeframes. This was pretty contested 4 or 5 years ago, whether we should stop events at 10, 11, 12, and it ended up settling on 10. And so I know there was some discussion, Erin, about if
Yeah, is that we had talked about, was, potentially the council might have stipulations or, propose, alternative